everyone, and welcome to CircuitStream's Introduction to Face Tracking with AR Foundation. My name is Stefan, and I will be your host for today. Now, before I do kick things off, I would like to do a quick AV audiovisual check. So in the chat box beside the screen, could you all please let me know if you can hear me and see me? So I see some hellos, yeses, yups. Wonderful. So it looks like you can hear me and see me. Great. So with that, thanks again, everyone, for joining us today for our Face Tracking with AR Foundation workshop. My name is Stefan. Today we'll be taking about an hour to introduce you to CircuitStream, who we are, what we're about. Then we'll introduce you a little bit about the world of augmented reality, which will then lead into our presentation and technical aspect led by my colleague to show you how to kickstart your own face tracking app with AR Foundation. This will be something similar to those Snapchat and Instagram filters you see on the faces, like the dog licking, the bunny ears, and so on. Now, before I continue, typically we have people joining us from all over the world on this workshop. So I do want to see if you can let me know in the chat box, where are you tuning in from? I myself am located in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, with a bunch of our colleagues, while we have some other colleagues located in Brazil, Toronto, and so on. So I see a lot of Canadians and Americans here. I have Jordan, that's an interesting one. Calgary as well, welcome. Vancouver, watching from Toronto, wonderful. So a lot of North Americans. I see some people from Brazil. So it looks like we have everyone joining us from different places in the world today again. So without further ado, again, my name is Stefan, and I'm the course lead here at CircuitStream. I have over 5 years of experience in the tech industry, working with learning management systems, ERP and business integration platforms, as well as travel IT technology. A little fact and icebreaker about myself that I like to say is I was a member of Water Polo Canada for several years, and I had the pleasure to train with the 2008 Beijing Olympic team. I was only about 15 years old when they actually went, so I didn't go. Nonetheless, it was a great experience. Today, I will be joined by my colleague, Nikisa Donnelly. Nikisa is an instructor and AR/VR developer here at CircuitStream. She will be the one leading our technical presentation to show you how to kickstart these applications, face tracking using AR Foundation. She's developed various and numerous apps using the HoloLens and Magic Leap, so she's a professional in that. If you have any questions there, she's your girl. So please feel free to ask any questions you have throughout this presentation. Now, if you do have questions, feel free to let us know in the chat box. There is a questions tab as well. I would prefer if you put your questions on the questions tab, that way that we don't miss anything and we can easily track what questions have come in. A little icebreaker and interesting fact about Nikisa: she's occasionally part of a circus. She's a dancer, likes to use those strings and ropes hanging from the ceilings. So if you're interested in this and want to chat about it more, feel free to chat and message us through here. Nikisa will be more than happy to elaborate further. A little bit about us here at CircuitStream. So we were founded in 2015 when everyone was on the hype train about creating applications. We saw a gap in actually teaching these people how to create apps. So since 2015, we've taught over 25,000 people how to create AR and VR applications from scratch using Unity. We're a team of about 20 people coming from different backgrounds and experiences, and now we've come all together in CircuitStream to help promote this technology. We're very familiar and professionals in Microsoft platforms, as well as the HoloLens, Vive, Valve Index, and Oculus platforms, as well as the Unreal engines and the Unity engine. And we will dive into that a little bit later. So we are, and CircuitStream is, a Unity certified training partner. Training partners are approved based on their expertise, focus on quality education, and commitment to providing the highest level of training available. All of our instructors are also certified Unity instructors, and should you be interested in pursuing our course that I will touch on later, it is a Unity certification recognized by Unity and the industry as a whole. So there's three things that we really focus on here at CircuitStream. The first is obviously education and training, where we teach people how to create apps. These are just some of the happy customers that we've had the pleasure to teach how all of this comes together. You'll see some big names like Walmart, Deloitte, Facebook, Boeing, the US Navy sent their members to us last year, and it was a pleasure to have everyone. You can also see that there's Hershey's, the chocolate company there. To this day, we don't know what Hershey's is doing with this technology, but nonetheless, I'm sure their chocolate will be tastier than ever. So just out of curiosity, I will toss in a poll here. What industry do you guys come from? Or if you are working, what industry are you working in? So I'm going to toss in a poll here. Feel free to check off whatever industry you're part of. It's always interesting to see who's coming in from what industry and what they may be interested in developing for their specific industry. Again, we've helped all of those customers through our XR development with Unity course. It's all live and online over 10 weeks with 4 hours of instruction per week to commit to. If you're interested after this presentation, we would love to have you. The next course is on May 25th, and I will dive into that a little bit further at the end of this presentation. What distinguishes and separates us from the other educational providers out there is our one-on-one support. It's a project-based course, meaning you come in with an idea and a project that you're interested in, and we help support and develop that idea alongside you through private one-on-one mentorship sessions that all of our students get each week. Now, alongside our education and training, we also do content creation, or in other words, we create applications, whether it be VR or AR, for different companies around the world. And these are some of the happy customers and the ones that we have a pleasure and are happy to work with, creating some apps that they want to implement in their business, working alongside them to help them succeed and solve their issues. Now, I will toss in another poll as well, and feel free to answer in the chat box. What are you interested in creating, if anything? Is it a work application? Is it a personal application? Is this a personal interest of yours? Are you looking to bring this to work? Please let us know. It's always great to see what you may be interested in creating and if it's a personal or work interest. With that, the third thing that we focus on alongside the education and training, as well as the content creation, is an XR platform that we just launched last year. We saw that people had issues actually distributing any apps that they had. So we have a platform to help them host their applications, scale, distribute, manage them, as well as track, measure, and analyze learning activities that anyone may be doing in those immersive experiences. Now, with this, I will toss in a quick 2-minute video that will highlight the platform. And if you have more questions about it, feel free to toss them in the questions tab or wait till the end of the presentation. We'd be more than happy to discuss that further with y'all. So here it goes.
Here's the way I see it. If we give her one, let's give her one of the HDMI ones. Leave the ones on her desk.
Wonderful. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I do just want to check that you can hear me and see me still after that quick little video here. Yes, wonderful, awesome, looks great. So with that, now that you know a little bit more about us and what we do here at CircuitStream, what are you going to learn today on the workshop? Today you're going to learn how AR face tracking apps are made in Unity, testing if your AR app is working, as well as the resources to take your projects further. And just out of curiosity, I will toss another poll in here as well. Please do let me know, how much experience do you have with Unity? Typically, we have people joining us with lots of experience in Unity, with no experience in Unity. So it's always great to see who's joining us on the workshop and what their experience is there. So I see a few zeros here, brand new, which is completely fine. A 4, some zeros, moderate experience, 3 years and took our course. That's great to hear, John. Moderate. So it looks like we have beginners to moderate level of experience in Unity. So for those of you who did answer 0, what is Unity? Unity is a free 3D development engine for building games, simulations, and experiences. It's the easiest way to begin making apps for XR. XR stands for extended reality, which is an umbrella term for VR and AR, virtual reality, augmented reality, as well as mixed reality. So now diving into AR, where are we today with AR? And I like to always use the comparison of the evolution of the mobile phone to where we are today with our devices in VR and AR. So as years went on, we first came out with those first big blocky-like phones, right? You could throw them through windows, take down walls, probably break people's arms. And then as years went on, the devices got smaller, more powerful, more accessible and convenient into the iPhones that we have today. The iPhones, the Samsungs, the Androids, whatever it may be. So where are we in terms of AR and that evolution? We're probably at that first generation iPhone moment where now the hardware is accessible to the public. It's more convenient to wear, and it all just comes down to bringing out some great software to put onto those devices, some great applications to actually utilize with those devices. So moving from here, comparing it to the big block-like phone, the evolution of AR has taken big steps. This is an example of what an AR VR headset looked like in the 1960s. Typically, AR and VR was considered the same thing, but this specifically rendered some digital programs and overlaid it over your real kind of experience in life. So this was how it looked like in the 1960s. From there, we moved into the 1990s where people use these headsets to guide machinery and to place certain things in certain areas. And from there, typically these headsets were more accessible by the military. And now as we're moving into that, first generation iPhone moment, we are here today with our current headsets. And I'm just kidding, guys. This is a joke. That's just an iPad stuck to someone's face. In reality, we're slowly making our way past that iPhone moment where we had the Google Glass presented to us a few years back, the Magic Leap AR headset as well, the Microsoft HoloLens, as well as the Microsoft HoloLens 2. Now, I will toss in another poll here just to see what devices do you own, and does anyone have a HoloLens 2 here? I would be super interested to see if you have your hands on there. We're trying to get our hands on a HoloLens 2. We are expecting it coming here shortly, but this is definitely one of the coolest AR headsets out there on the market. So I see a lot of people own the Quest. John has a Magic Leap as well. Oculus Rift, Magic Leap and HoloLens. Dane, very nice. HoloLens 2, Shanae, that's great. I'm interested to hear how you're enjoying that. So a lot of different headsets that I see here attending on our workshop. So with this, how does one actually get started in creating an AR application? So at first you have an idea. You bring that idea into Unity and then you start developing it. Once it's developed, you push it out to one of the SDKs available, whether it's ARKit, ARCore by Google, or Microsoft platforms, which is then pushed out to the relevant devices that you had an interest in developing for. Today, for the workshop, when we go into our technical aspect of the presentation, we will be using Unity and AR Foundation to help build these face tracking applications. Now, AR Foundation is an abstract of ARKit and ARCore, so depending on what device you're using, if it's an iOS, you're looking at the ARCore, ARKit, and if it's an Android phone, you're looking at the ARCore. I know some of you may be thinking, why don't we focus on Unreal? So we like to focus on Unity because we find it's the most in-demand kind of skill out there that people are looking for. 70% of the applications created on the market currently have been developed using Unity. So that's why we like to focus on Unity over the Unreal Engine. It's a great time to get into this industry and get interested in this technology. There's over 2,000 companies currently investing in this tech, with some big names you can see on the list here. For AR specifically, we're going to see some exponential growth in the next 2-3 years. Here you can see we're at about 2.3 billion for AR, MR headsets. And in the next 2 years, it's expected to grow by almost more than 4 times. So it's a great time to get into it. It's a great time to get interested. This is just starting to kick off and just starting to grow. So it's super exciting to see everyone joining us on our workshop today and having an interest in this technology as well. So today is an intro to AR face tracking. We will be showing you how to create AR face tracking applications like these face filters. It's a pleasure and an honor to have Nakisa guide us and show us how to kickstart this application using Unity. She has, like I said earlier, worked with all different types of AR platforms and devices, the HoloLens and the Magic Leaps. So it's really a pleasure to have Nakisa guide us and show us how to kickstart your own AR face tracking application. So without further ado, I would like to introduce and pass the torch off here to Nakisa.
Same thing. I'm going to do a voice and video test. So thumbs up if you can see and hear me. Or, just say, hey, how's it going? Awesome. Of course I am. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, I also have a background in electrical engineering, as you can see from the mounting, looming tower of projects, of unfinished projects. So let's get started with this thing. I'll give you guys a little sample of what we are going to be creating here. So what I'm doing is I'm using a program called Power Mirror to mirror what my phone is doing. And so we will see what we are going to be. There we go. So this is all happening in real time. And as you can see, the faces are tracking my mouth as well. So I can toggle these face filters, and that is the matrix. So I can press that button, and then I have a nice little shader that I've created, and I can send you guys a little bit later on. And then we have this little futuristic one. And then we have my horrible attempt at a very lazy cosplay. And then we have another little material that's overlaid on my face. And there should be, there it is, the Unity logo, in case you ever wanted to get it tattooed on your face. So that is what we were going to be creating here. And I have my phone plugged in by USB on my PC here. And this is an Android phone. So that is what we are going to do with today. Now, there are going to be similar steps to setting up your Unity project for iOS too. So let's get started. Let's create a Unity project. I'm going to open up this hub and I'm going to create a new project by clicking this lovely little button right there. You can choose different versions too. 2019.3.5 or higher is probably fine for what we are doing. So clicking on new. Now, I'm going to remind you guys that you have a PDF of some common words and definitions about what some typical things are, like what a game object is, what a canvas is, and you will also be having a link to the GitHub repo for the entire project that we are creating today, so you can follow along side by side, not right now, but probably later on. So the template right now, it's just going to be a regular 3D template. And I'm going to give this project a name, and this will be called my face tracking workshop. Oh, that path already exists. Okay, you know what? Let's just do face tracking. Here we go. And now I can choose the local local destination on my computer by clicking on those three little dots. And it's going to be in this thing. And it's going to be right here. And select folder. And then we're going to click on create. So this might take a little bit of time to open up a new Unity project. So in the meantime, how does NASA throw parties before quarantine? They plan it. Ah, you got it. Exactly. Oh, come on. That was brilliant. The joke was out of this world. Absolutely. But I'll give you another hint. Now, see, you can solve any equation in the world. You don't have to be like Stephen Hawking. You don't have to be anything. You can solve any equation in the world by multiplying both sides by 0. See, this is what's going to happen. Load slower, I think you mean. So I'll give you another one because it's still opening up here. What do you call a lazy kangaroo? A pouch potato. That was also brilliant. Anyways, the project is open right here. So welcome to the Unity interface. I would love your dad. And this is the Unity interface. And we're just going to get really familiar here. We're going to be super serious. But the first thing is we're going to go from the left-hand side here all the way over to the right-hand side. So first things first, we have something called a hierarchy. So for those of you who don't know about the Unity interface, we're going to learn about it right now. We're going to have a little crash course. So the hierarchy is something that shows every game object that makes up your application that's going to live in it. And then we have a scene view, which is where we're going to create our world. And your game view right here is what we're going to be seeing when we actually play the application, or what we will be seeing on our phones. And now the inspector tab right over here is something that lists everything that our game object is composed of. So our main camera game object is composed of a transform component, a camera component, and an audio listener component. Yes, 2019.2 is fine. Now you may need to update your version of Unity to a 3 something because we are going to be using AR foundations that has face tracking on it. Now occasionally you might get a little whine from my dog here, but that will be perfectly fine. He's fine. He went out. He's already eaten. So the first thing that we want to do is import some packages that we need to implement our AR capability. That's going to be at the top left, clicking on your window, and then going into your package manager. And this is what it looks like. So we wait for that to think and load a little bit. And then we're going to go all the way up here, and we're going to download AR Foundation. And now take a look at the dependencies here, because these also need to be downloaded. So you can absolutely take notes, and do be reminded though that you will have a GitHub link or a URL link to the GitHub repository of this project that we are creating. So I'm going to click on install for my AR Foundation. Wait for that to load. Ready for another pun? Of course you are. What do you call a yellow python? It's a bananaconda. I crack myself up sometimes. So this is the difference between an Android and iOS. So because I am on Android, I'm going to download AR Core. Now, if you are on an iOS, you are going to be downloading AR Kit. So AR Core is what I'm going to be installing here. And so as I install that, my dependencies are also going to be installed. So you don't really have to worry about that so much. And those are installed. Okay, awesome. So now we can close that, and we can actually set up our hierarchy to have some AR capabilities in it. So we need to add 2 different game objects that's going to enable AR in our project. I'm going to right click in the hierarchy, the empty space here, and I'm going to go down to XR, and then I'm going to create an AR session origin. And then I'm also going to create, right click, XR, create an AR session. So what the AR session is, this controls the sort of life cycle of your AR experience. So it enables AR in any sort of target platform that you want. So your AR session origin basically does a bunch of transforms that sort of repositions the origin of the world to the origin of your, expand that, your AR camera, which is going to be our phone. So it makes sure that the world origin of your Unity project is your phone. So since we have a camera on this already, we can delete the main camera from our hierarchy. Click on that and delete that. So you would have noticed that on the application that I showed you that's already on my phone, we had a nice big button on there. So we need to create that button now, and we're going to use a canvas to create that button. So your canvas, in case you forgot that you have your PDF with all of your notes, codes of things, your canvas is an area that contains all of your UI elements. So I'm going to right click in the hierarchy and go to UI and then create a canvas. And then I can focus on this canvas in the world by pressing F on my keyboard and pivoting around so I can see it from here. And there we go. So this is my canvas. So in the inspector, let's take a look at what this canvas component is. In particular, the render mode of this thing. Now the render mode of this is called a screen space overlay. So this canvas is going to cover anything acting as your screen. So that would be your monitor if you're creating a 3D application, or your phone, just like what we're going to do. So now what I need to do is I need to create a button for this canvas. And that button is going to toggle through all the different materials that we're going to apply to our face. So I'm going to right click on canvas, go to UI, and then I'm going to go to the button. And there it is. Now I need to reposition the button to be anchored down to the middle bottom of the screen. And I'm going to do that by moving the anchors over in the right-hand side for the inspector. I'm going to move Y down to 0, and the Y max, that's going to be 0 as well. That way, this button, no matter how big it's going to be, like so, it's going to be anchored to that same distance away from that space. So I'm going to move that button down here. And now I know that my phone, the screen resolution is pretty giant. So I'm going to scale this button up a little bit by pressing R on my keyboard and bringing that scale up a little bit here. And maybe let's move that up a little bit here. It's the bouton. So this button, it just says button, so let's change that. On the game object in the hierarchy on the left-hand side, I'm going to expand that, and then clicking on the text, because that is what shows this button. Over in the inspector tab on the right-hand side, I'm going to click in there, and I'm going to change this to say something like swap face. Sounds really weird if it wasn't in this context. So there is my button. And what is a #1 lesson that we have learned from Nintendo? Anything not saved will be lost. So save your project, save your scene, hit Controller Command S. And there we go. So we have saved our scene, and then we can create some other things that our project needs in here. So in the assets folder, we need some folders to make our project really nice and organized. We need a folder for materials. I'm going to right click, go to create a folder, and this is going to be my materials. And then we're going to create another folder, right click, create folder, and this will be my prefabs, because we are going to create a prefab in just a moment. Let's go in alphabetical order. I'm going to right click and create another folder for my scripts. And I'm going to right click, create another folder, and this will be called shaders, because I'll be giving you guys a nice, lovely shader created by me. And then we need some textures and do 2D elements for our materials. Right click, folder, and textures. So we need to create a prefab. And this prefab is going to be placed onto your face. It's going to be placed on your face. And how that happens is that there's this component that we're going to add on our AR session origin called an AR face manager. So let's add that component. On the AR session origin, click on Add Component and add an AR Face Manager. So what this does is that the moment that it detects a face, it's going to place that face prefab onto your face. Now currently, face detection or face tracking only detects a human face, which implies that animal faces will be in the near future, which I'm hoping for. I'm pulling for it, because that would be hilarious. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create this prefab that we're going to put here, because we need the material on that prefab to swap in and out. So let's create that. I'm going to right click in the hierarchy, and I'm going to create an empty. Now, your prefab is also, or where the definition of a prefab is also on your little PDF cheat sheet. It's a game object that persists throughout your entire project, not just in your scene. So I'm going to rename this game object to my face prefab. And so its position is kind of off. So I'm going to reset this position by clicking on those 3 little dots and then clicking on reset. And focusing on that in the scene view. So on this game object, we're going to add a component and add a mesh filter. And then the other thing that we're going to add here is a mesh renderer. Now, these are standard things that make up a game object. For example, my dog likes to be by my feet. He's a bit clumsy sometimes. So the mesh filter and the mesh renderer, let's just take a little bit of time to explain what that is. I'm just temporarily going to create a primitive object. Right-click 3D object, cube, and let's take a look at that. So this cube has a mesh filter and a mesh renderer. The mesh filter contains all the vertice information that make up the geometric shape of a cube. It's a bunch of different triangles all connected together that make up a cube. And then the mesh renderer, what we have here, renders your object so we can actually see it. And so right here in this material, this is what we're going to be swapping in and out with our button. So now I'm just going to delete that cube because we don't need that anymore. There's 2 more things that we need on our face prefab. I'm going to add a component and add an AR face. And then I'm also going to add another component called an AR face mesh visualizer. Right there. Now these things are added automatically if you don't have a specified prefab in your AR face manager. Now this face prefab is all ready to go. So I need to make it a prefab by clicking on it and dragging that down into my project folder right there. So it'll turn blue. That indicates that it is a prefab and I can now delete it from my hierarchy. So I can click on that, hit delete, and there's my prefab. So now I need to apply that to my AR face prefab. So dragging that over into that open field here and dropping it there. And then really quickly, Nintendo, Control S, save. The next thing that we need to do is we need to get to the fun part, the super, super fun part, which is the scripting. I'm going to go to my scripts and we're going to create a script. Now this script has already been pre-created, so I'm just going to briefly explain what's going on with it as we sort of create that here. So right click in the scripts folder, go to create and C# script. And let's call this, we could call this our magical face swapper. All capitalized, no spaces. You do not want spaces in your script name. You will have a bad, bad time. But now we can double click to open that up. And then there it is, our magical face swapper script. So I'm not really going to go into our C# theory, so I'm just going to copy a lot of this stuff here and then just paste it here and then boom. Okay, so this has an error because I forgot to do something. I forgot to do something very foolish, and that is to add a namespace here. So using Unity engine.xr.ar foundation. That's where the AR face manager resides. So what's happening in our magical face swapper script is that we have the AR face manager that we have attached to our AR session origin. And then what we have is we have a list of materials here that we're going to drag and drop in the inspector and sort of swap out for that facial prefab thing. So in the start function or method, and only in C# is a start or a function method, the same thing. But in the start function, we are going to get the AR face manager that is on our AR session origin. We're getting that thing, which means I have to attach this script onto this game object. So let's do that right now. Clicking on that, dropping it here. There we go. So right away, we see that we have a list of materials here that we are going to drag and drop there. But let's continue on with what we're doing in this script, magical face swapper script. We have a public void here. Now this is public, so we can see it with our button. Now this is called switch face material, and so this is going to be called on any click for our button, and our button is so generic that it could be a mouse click or, you know, a touch with our fingers. So then what's happening in the next few lines is we are going to loop through all of the potential faces being tracked in case you're with another person. So that's what we're doing here. And then we are going to sort of go down our list of materials here. And then what this place or what this thing is doing is if we have reached the end of our face materials, we're going to reset things back to 0. So does anyone need a deeper explanation of that? There's nope, 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 nope. Perfect, you're all geniuses. So let's wire things up then. Good question, Olivia. We do not need the update loop, and that's because we are using our own public method here that's going to be wired up to our button. So we're not constantly checking in the update loop whether or not something has been clicked. It's just going to be an event that is clicked and send off that public method there. So we are done our script. Let's wire things up. Our canvas here, this button, in the inspector tab, that on click, this is when we're going to call that little method, that face swap method right here. And we're going to attach that by clicking on the plus icon. And then because my script is on my AR session origin, I can drag that over here, right there, clicking on the no function, go to the magical face swapper script that we have, and that switch face material method right there. So now our button, whenever it's clicked, is going to call that method. So the other thing that we're going to do is we need some materials on this thing. So let's import some textures and create some materials out of that. And we are almost done. After this, we're going to go through our build settings and build onto an Android phone. So what we can do here is we can just, and your textures could be created in like Photoshop or Paint, because I use Paint a lot. I'm not so much of an artist. I do this stuff. So I'm just going to drag some textures from a different folder here, and then let's do that one. So I can just drag and drop into my textures folder there. So it'll import, and that is from a folder. So my textures, I have a cartoon, I have my future, I have my ink blot test that shows my parents fighting. I'm totally just kidding. And then the small waves. This is going to be something different, and you don't necessarily have to understand what the shader is doing. It's just something fun that I'm going to give to you guys for free. But I'm just going to do some modifications here that will allow us to do that nice little distortion that happens. So the texture type, this is actually going to be a normal map. And then this is going to be create from grayscale, and let's do a smooth and then click on apply. So now it's a normal map, and that is great. I'm going to import that shader, that lovely little shader that you saw earlier. That just sort of warped everything. It was super cool. It's an invisible distortion. Drag that there. So let's create some materials. What textures do we have? We have a cartoon, a future, ink blot. We'll have that distortion, and then a Unity transparent. So I'm going to click inside my materials. I'm going to right click, create a material. And the first thing is going to be my cartoon. Now we need to apply that texture to the color of the cartoon. And you can see a little preview down at the bottom right-hand side here. And that is pretty boring, so let's make that a little cartoon. In the inspector tab for my materials, I'm going to click on this little circle here, and it's my cartoon. So there is my material. Let's create another one. Let's create that little futuristic one. I'm going to right click, go to create a material, and this will be my futuristic. Futuristic. Oh my God, futuristic. I think that's how you spell it. I'm not really known for my spelling. Engineers are never known for their spelling. It's an accurate stereotype. Anyways, so we need to apply that 2D texture to this material. Again, clicking on that little circle for the albedo, which is just a fancy Latin word for color. Clicking on that, go to future, and there is my material. And now let's do that ink blot test, or what's his name from The Watchmen that beats up people. Right click, create material, and this will be my ink blot. And then I'm going to click on the albedo again, right there, go to ink blot test. Now, this is all black, but have no fear, because in order to have some sort of transparency in this thing, it needs to be a different shader. So clicking in the top, we have that standard drop-down menu. Clicking on that, we're going to go to unlit and transparent cutout, and there it is. There is the ink blot that's going to be on my face, or your face, or everyone's face, a dog's face eventually. Let's see, what else do we have? We have the Unity. Oh, actually, let's do that distortion. Super quick, easy way to create a material from a shader. You can right click on a shader, go to create, material, and then let's rename that to invisible distortion. So since this is a material, I'm going to drag that into my materials folder there. Now, again, if this is going a little too quickly, have no fear. You're going to be having or you will be sent the GitHub repo for this project. And this workshop is recorded, so you'll be sent that too. Now I'm going to make some small adjustments to this little invisible distortion material to have it do that little wavy effect that was on my face that you saw earlier. In this texture, I'm going to select that, and this is going to be my small waves. And then my distortion scale will be a float, and then ripple will be another float, and then the ripple scale will be another float. And there we go. That's fine. So that is one material. We have one more material to create, and that'll be the Unity logo. No regrets. Right click, create material, and this will be my Unity logo. So again, in the same way that we created the ink blot test, we're going to click in the albedo, that little circle there, clicking on the Unity transparent. And now in the standard at the top right drop-down menu, this will be an unlit transparent cutout. And there we go. We have, I can count, 5 materials to put into our AR session origin to swap our faces. So I'm going to click on my AR session origin, increase my face size to 5, and then I'm going to drag the cartoon there, and then futuristic there, ink blot right there, drag that there, invisible distortion, drag that there, and then the Unity logo there, and then save. Now, for those of you who have Unity experience, they might have seen something interesting with the prefab, and I wonder if they have the answer as to what was interesting. I'll give you like 2 seconds because I'm sitting in silence and I can't really hear you. Anyways, I'll tell you. So in this prefab, if you were keen, if you were clever, if you were so clever, you'll have noticed that in this prefab, in the mesh renderer, we don't actually have a material here. So if there's no material, Unity will put its own material, and it's actually going to be Unity's shader material, which is going to be a really, really sort of obnoxious, like magenta, which isn't actually a color on the rainbow, believe it or not. So to fix that, because you clever people have noticed it, let's put a material in there. Let's put the cartoon material. Actually, I'm going to click on Open Prefab, drag that material right there. And it saves automatically, so now I can go back to AR Session Origin, and it looks like everything is in place. Let me double check. 1, 2, 3, okay, cool. We have the canvas, and let's make sure that the button is wired up correctly. Magical face swapper right there. And that's on here. Okay, cool. So let's get into the very last step, and it is going to be to build onto your phone. So my phone is fairly new. It is the Samsung S20. So Unity doesn't quite have the SDK and NDK for this quite yet. It's the Android 10 or what's called an Android Q. So if you were in a similar area like me, you would need to download the SDK and the NDK from Android Studio and downloading that Android Q SDK NDK. And then once you have that done, what you're going to do is you need to check your preferences. Go to Edit, Preferences. And this is what it looks like. So we have the preferences for iOS, which you can configure when you have your Xcode settings all done. Now for me, for my Android here, I have the local path of where I've downloaded my Android Q SDK, which is here, and my NDK, which is here. So that is fine. That's perfect. The next thing that we need to do is our build settings. I'm going to close that, go to File and Build Settings. And this is the home stretch now. Now I need to add a scene in here to build, which is my sample scene right there. So clicking on Add Open Scene, and there's my scene there. Now I need to switch over to my Android platform. If I was an iOS, for an iPhone, I can switch to iOS there. So now my Android, and then I'm going to switch platform. This might take some time, but you know, in the meantime, I'll tell you another pun. Who's up for another pun? Of course you are. Of course you are. So, why? Yes, you can have custom SDK and JDK locations. So, how dare you mute me? Why was the kid wearing glasses in math class? It's because it helps with division. I'll just give myself my own round of applause. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Oh, look at that. It switched. So now the thing with this is that, now let me think. What we can do here, now since I have my little application up here, I'm going to close that. And because my phone is set to developer mode, I can click on the default device and it'll sense my Samsung device here. And if all goes well, if I didn't actually mess this up, which, you know, I might have, I'm just warning you now, I can click on build and run. So it's going to build my application, build an APK, and then it'll launch to my phone. So I can click on build, and fingers crossed, it'll work. I'm going to make a new folder, and this will be called builds. And double click in there. And let's name this our face tracking workshop. There. Okay. And then hit save. Oh, I knew it. See, I warned you guys. Let's see. Oh, that's right. I totally forgot. Okay. Go to your edit, project settings, and go to player settings. So what we need to do for, where is this? Face tracking is for the Android. What we need to do is in the other settings, we need to delete this Vulkan because that's not supported on Android. And minus that. There we go. So then what else we need to do? Yes. So your minimum API target level for your Android is not going to be 19. The lowest you can go is 26, which is Oreo. And now for the automatic, that is going to be API level 29. And then let's see what else we have here. I think that will be it. Let's see the other AR core, and that'll be fine. Okay. You can also do your publishing settings here, and you can create a custom Gradle template, but let's not do that. So now that I've done that, let's go to our build settings again, file, build settings, and build and run. A face tracking workshop. Let's click on save. Holding my breath. Okay, it's building. building. This is a good sign. This is a real good sign. I have a good feeling about this. Some Oreos. I'm going to treat myself to some Oreos. Oh, that's right. Multi-threaded rendering. I totally forgot about that. Totally forgot about that. What? So now you're demanding puns? What kind of underpants does a cloud wear? Thunderpants. Hacha. Well, it may seem like perhaps in a newer version of Unity, let's do this, that multi-threaded rendering might actually be enabled. So let's connect to my phone again, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. Okay. There we go. Start now. And there we go. So now I can control my, let's do that. Let's go home. There. And there it is. Face tracking. Hi. There we go. How about that? So it's tracking my face. So there's my button. I can swap my face. There we go. Hey. Boom. There's that nice little distortion shader. And there's the Unity logo. Cool. And there we go. And that is how you create some face filters similar to Snapchat and what you can do with there. Pro tip for the ladies, maybe you make something for Sephora for trying on makeup. Who knows? I would totally use that. And there we go. Yes, it can detect your mouth. If you were watching, here, let me see if I can, let me show you that again. Oh, bring that down, drag up, face tracking. So you can see it's tracking mouth. Yeah. Okay, so let me see. What was the question? How do you get the face swap button to anchor to the bottom of the screen? Very good question. So in your canvas and clicking on your button, you have these things called anchors, which are shown by these small little white triangles here. This anchors your button game object to a place somewhere on your canvas. Now, my anchors are all the way down at the bottom and right in the middle of the screen. So that way, no matter how big my screen is, it's always going to be in the middle. So let's see. We have some other questions. How would I be able to connect it to Instagram or Snapchat? Good question. You pitch it to them and then get loads of money for your filters. So can you create a 3D head like, say, a bird that wraps around your whole head? You totally could. You totally could. And what you're going to do is you're going to use something that 3D artists are very familiar with. It's this thing called UV wrapping. So you have a sort of a wrap of, oh God, this is going to sound really gross, but it's basically like if your face was skinned and flattened on a place, like a little overall sort of flat placement, and then you draw your bird image over that. Cool. Thanks for that answer, Olivia. So this is working with the AR Face Manager. If you were to do an image tracking, it's a different manager that you would have to add. Yes, AR Foundation does track images. You have to create something that's called a reference image, and then on your AR session origin, you would have to add a component like add AR tracked image right there. Thank you, Mateo. That is an excellent resource there for UV mapping. What 3D software recommend for beginners to create their own graphics? What graphics are you kind of digging? Are you digging like particles or 3D models? Yes, Blender, always Blender. Yes, image tracking is basically what Euphoria does. Yes, Blender for free, because it is free. Like Spark AR. Well, there's a number of tools. Yes, Visual Effects Graph would be great. Shader Graph is also great too. Thank you, Angeline. You can tell me more, please. No, I'm just kidding. Any tips on how to go about building the Sephora makeup AR app? No, it would not be difficult at all. What you really want to get to know or get really familiar with, Sammy, is this thing called UV mapping, UV wrapping. There's a really great resource that AR Core has in which they actually have an FBX that you can sort of draw on and do your makeup. The AR Face Manager does not show up in the video. Okay. So how do you put a video on a face? That is a funny question. I have not tried that yet, so I might have to get back to you on that. You could possibly use render textures, or I'm thinking because on our face prefab here, what we have is we have a mesh filter. So you could add a video component. You could add a video component to this thing and state that the filter that, or the render filter that you are targeting is this face. So that could be one solution. AR Face Manager does not show up in the other place. So you have to install the package. In the very first steps of this, you can go to your Windows Package Manager and install the AR Foundation there. Once you install that, your components should come up. Can I tell you how to do image tracking without Euphoria? Euphoria, yeah, Euphoria is not free. Well, it's free up until a point. But if you are trying to make any sort of money off of it, it's not free at all. This workshop is specifically for your face tracking and not image tracking. However, you can contact us for a future workshop about image tracking in AR Foundation. Can you import an animated 3D object and apply it to face tracking? What do you mean by an animated 3D object? Is that like a rigged body? Like a rigged something? Oh, yes. Interesting. Yes, you can totally anchor it to the face, anchoring it to your facial prefab. That would be really neat. You can also use something called an animated texture. Oh God, Jesse, why would you think of something like that? Who are you? But that would actually be kind of cool if you had like oh, I like you. I like you, Deborah. Is he a web designer? You could totally do that. See, you can do so many things using like animated textures or shaders or visual effects, all of those things. Yeah. How did I get started in AR? Oh, geez. Tinkering. As you can see, I love to tinker with things. I have my little soldering machine over there and some little Arduinos. I just like to mess with things and see if I can break it, which I usually do. I break a lot of things. It's cost me a lot of money. Just kidding. How do you do VR? This is a workshop on AR. You're going to have to come back later for a VR workshop. Can you use an OBJ sequence for an animated mesh? Yeah, you totally can. Oh, I see. Can you do a melting face? Yes, totally can. So if you think of all of those little special effects that you see in like video games or in stuff like that, that can all be done using shaders, materials, and textures. Substance Painter is amazing. Another thing that you might want to look at, something that is interchangeable between like Unreal and Unity, is this thing called Amplify Shader, which is an asset that you can purchase in Unity. And it's actually way more robust than Shader Graph. And didn't I import a shader? Yes, I did import a shader that I pre-made before this because it's pretty interesting. So how you use it in this tutorial is just right there. It's going to be in your GitHub repo. So, is the asset free? Is Amplify Shader free? No, it is not. Alrighty, so I think we're going to wrap up this question period. Thank you for all of your questions. You guys are awesome, especially the ones that like puns.
Yeah, and thank you very much, Nikisa. It was great to have you on the workshop, and a pleasure to have you show us how to kickstart a face tracking application using AR. If you guys do have questions, stay tuned till the end of this presentation. We'll take another 5-10 minutes to wrap up. So if your questions weren't answered, we'll be sure to get back to you on those. So with that, I will just share my screen here again. Again, I hope you guys learned a lot from Nikisa's lesson here. We did fly through the material quite quickly. However, we will be here at the end of the presentation to answer any other questions. And if you are interested in learning more, we'd be happy to have you. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do with AR, not only face filters and, for face tracking, but you can use it for seeing how things look on your own body, whether it be tattoos, retail, like clothes, sunglasses, and as Nikisa said, cosmetics, lipstick, and so on. You can also use AR for games like Pokemon Go. I'm sure you've all heard about that as well. The IKEA app, you can use it for AR for interior design as well, placing down objects to see what it looks like in your home, without even having to go buy it and see what it looks like then and there. Google Maps also has an AR functionality as well. So you can use AR for navigation, even guiding people or having them tour certain areas or properties that you may own. And it's been used a lot in the professional sphere as well, with medicals and surgeons having things overlaid on the body so they know where they can go. And even for engineers, product designers, and in the manufacturing industry as well. AR can be used in you name it, in any industry possible. So I know we did fly through everything quite quickly today, but if you are interested in learning more about AR or VR, we would love to have you in our course. Whether it be something that you're interested in transitioning careers or entering the industry, we would be more than happy to help you out. Syed, one of our alumni, nailed a project management XR role at a studio 3 months after taking our course. If it's for corporate training or just a work interest that you're looking to develop, we're more than happy to help you there. We had Laura from SNC Lavalin take what she learned out of our course and implement it at the organization which they're currently working with now. And if it's a personal interest or you're looking to bring a team to help learn and get started, we would be more than happy to have a group of your employees with us as well. We had the faculty members of Indiana Wesleyan University take our course so they can learn how it all comes together and then eventually apply it to their medicine program, and so they can stay on top of the other schools and educations out there. Again, if you are interested, our next course is on May 25th. It's the XR Development with Unity course. So not only will you learn how to create AR face tracking applications or anything AR related, but it covers virtual reality as well. It's all live and online in real time with our instructors, just like Nikisa. And they really do take the time to work with you and support you in learning how it all comes together, as well as developing your own idea or personal project. The course will teach you how to create those apps, the fundamentals for C# coding that we saw a little bit as well during Nikisa's presentation. It's 4 hours of class per week over 10 weeks, and you do also get that weekly one-on-one support on a personal project that you have an interest in. So we're more than happy to help work with you develop those ideas. There's no experience required for our course, so newbies have no fear. Anyone from all walks of life are welcome, from beginners to advanced learners. We love working with beginners to help them get things done and to create their ideas. And Nikisa and our other instructors love riffing off of advanced learners to help them show the best practices. All you need is a Mac or a Windows computer or an Android or iPhone if you're working on mobile AR, such as the face tracking app we built today. So no matter what headset or device you have, you can create VR and AR applications on, and we would be more than happy to help you build whatever you have in mind. The full price of the course is $39.50. However, for all of our workshops, we do like to offer a workshop discount. We had a workshop last week, and we only have a handful of discounts left remaining, but it's a 20% discount, which comes out to a total of $31.60, which can also be applied to any of our payment plans that we offer. We offer 3-month payment plans, 6-month payment plans, and 12-month payment plans for as low as $274 per month. If you are interested in learning more or pursuing this into the future, we would love to have you. So please feel free to download our syllabus or apply now at circuitstream.com/course. And we do really hope to continue supporting each and every one of you in creating an idea that you have in mind. So with this, now we are into our in-depth Q&A session. So if you do have any more questions for Nikisa or any of our other colleagues that are online answering your questions, please don't hesitate to shoot your questions into the chat box or the questions tab. We would be more than happy to answer those for you. So we will be taking the next 10 minutes or so to answer any last minute questions. And if you do have an interest, we would love to see you in our course. So Nikisa, if you would like to join us again on this video session, I'm sure everyone here would also appreciate you answering some of the questions that we have coming up on the tab here. And yes, again, all of this workshop is recorded and will be sent to everyone when it is finished up. We will also be sending you a GitHub repo link so you can actually replicate and work with what Nikisa was showing us today during her technical presentation.
Recap for the differences in iOS and for what we just learned. So we were primarily using AR Foundation, and one of the main differences is in your package manager downloading not AR Core but AR Kit, and then switching over your build settings to iOS and not Android. Everything else is basically the same. For multiple team members, Git. We've had a lot of trouble using Unity Collaborate, so Git is definitely my professional opinion. GitHub. Or, well, you can use any sort of Git client that you want, whether it's whether it's SourceTree or whether it's SourceTree or GitHub Desktop or Git Kraken. No, but you can say Git good. Hey. So when running the project to an iPhone, do you install anything else like an Android? Running the oh, yes, you need to build and launch through Xcode. You should be receiving a link to this, I think. Stefan, do you have a better answer for that?
In here.
There we go.
Perfect.
Absolutely, Angeline. You can have an iPhone, Android, and computer. Nope. So what happens in the class is that we accommodate for students who don't have access for a headset too, but we can still, implement some functions and test out some things that'll be working. Ooh, loaded question. So the partnership was primarily an educational one. We were on site teaching our course material at MIT. So do you recommend some basic C# scripting knowledge before starting the course? It would be very helpful. Yes, absolutely. And what I like to tell my students who have zero coding or zero sort of programming background is who are kind of like, oh geez, coding, it's so anyways, well, it's sort of what I forget what his author says, but the first step to getting ahead is to start. So any background on C# scripting knowledge is really helpful for you. Eric has an older iPhone. Will I run into any problems getting everything to run properly? Not really. How old is it? Because there is a certain cutoff for models to use AR Kit. It has a minimum API level. Just the minimum API level for Android is Oreo. Well, a really good Google search can do it. Unity also has some basic C# tutorials on their Learn page. It's super easy. You're welcome. Unity's Learn tutorials has some basic C# videos that you can watch to sort of get a handle on things. Yes, there is an ARKit face tracking package. So the difference is that the ARKit face tracking has a different setup than your AR foundations, and it's specific to iOS. So if you use ARKit face tracking, you won't be able to use it on an Android. Any tips for beginners learning coding? Like I said before, the first step to getting ahead is to start. Rude. I am taken by my dog. Rude. How can you make a deformation shader? So many different ways. There are so many different ways, basically to the infinity of the human imagination, given the tools that we have. So the things that you want to check out for making any sort of shader is Unity, VFX Graph, and Unity Shader Graph. Those are going to be readily available for you to create any sort of deformation shaders that you want. Is Unity the best AR dev engine, better than Xcode? Yeah, it is. Is that even a question? Can you incorporate Python TensorFlow for human action tracking and identification? Ooh, that is a juicy question. So you can actually implement TensorFlow in Unity, and you can use it for a wide variety of AR applications, including something that I've been playing around with, the HoloLens. So TensorFlow is really, really useful, but you do have to purchase that app on the Unity Asset Store. I can't remember how expensive it or how much it is. Can you animate characters in Unity with this app? You can animate characters in Unity, albeit kind of primitively. If you're looking to animate things really nicely, you're going to use Blender for free, a free software, or if you are already a professional in the sort of industry there, you can use Autodesk Maya. Is it possible to apply this to a computer cam instead? Let me think about that one. If there is, I am not aware of a way to use your computer cam instead. If you're using AR Foundation, anything like that for mobile AR, that's going to be using your phone as a camera. I think it's specifically that Euphoria where you can test things using your webcam, and that's in Euphoria's API. If all statements were that broad, yes, everything would be correct. So there is a way that you can grab information from your webcam and write your own scripts to implement your AR, whatever it is. If you're using like any sort of AR foundation, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought. And so on and so forth. Words. Is XR better than Euphoria? Euphoria is under XR. How about things like an AR board game? That would be so cool, Stephanie. And I would totally help you make that. Or like AR D&D. What are my thoughts on applications of AR Foundation versus Web AR? Would I recommend Web AR for someone with JavaScript knowledge? Well, you can get into Web AR. There is in your build settings, you can build for Web AR there. Now, if you are looking to build some sort of AR application that is cross-platform that you don't necessarily have to download from the App Store every single time, Web AR, like a URL, is going to be your go-to. Now, that being said, I do not have a lot of experience working in AR. If you have JavaScript knowledge, you can also use a JavaScript wrapper instead of a C# for your scripts. Ooh, good question, Jesse. What's my favorite AR application or game? It has to be, even though it was a Magic Leap, rest in peace. It was a Magic Leap, and it was this thing called Tonandi, which was created with the Icelandic group Sigur Rós. And Tonandi translates to something called music spirits, I think. And there were these like little spirits or sprites that you could sort of interact with, and they would sort of influence the sound that you were and the music that you were hearing. It was an incredibly emotional experience, guys. I'm telling you. Best friend. Yes, we will unite. Oh, that's awesome. I like that. For mobile games and AR VR, is there any reason to use Android Studio and import to Unity successfully into Unity? So I only used Android Studio to download SDKs and NDKs because my phone is really, really new, and Unity didn't have that SDK ready for me. If I was to create a mobile game, I would absolutely use Unity and not Android Studio. I have a pilot to dev for my daughter, and it is based on VR. Can I still start with AR? Yeah, you can start whichever one you want. But if it is for your doctoral program, I would personally suggest that you focus on VR because, you know, your degree depends on it. Can we start a podcast? I don't know. Have a circuit stream podcast? That's a really good idea. We have some very, very interesting people in the company. Stream one to a charm mixer. We'll take that into consideration. So guys, if there's any more questions or forever hold your peace? No, I'm just kidding. There's emails. VR still with Unity? Yes. So groovy. As groovy as gravy. No problem. That was a lot of fun, and I hope you guys learned something there. There was a lot of information. No problem. It has been a blast. I'll let you guys take it away.
Well, we'll wrap up here for today, guys. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us on our workshop here today. Nikisa, thank you again as well. It was a pleasure to have you. Everyone loved you, and I loved your puns. I don't know about these guys, but I loved it. I hope everyone is doing well in light of everything that's going on in the world. And I do appreciate you all taking the time to join us on our workshop today. We will be holding an intro to AR workshop on May 6th, I believe, or May 16th. But we do also have a free VR hand tracking workshop that will be launched on May 6th. So my colleague Kyle just mentioned May 13th is our intro to AR workshop, and May 6th is our VR hand tracking workshop. So if you're interested in checking out those, please do register. We would love to have you and answer some of those questions again. But with this, I will wrap up the presentation here. If you guys are interested in joining our course or just taking this a step further, just check out circuitstream.com/course and feel free to apply or just download our syllabus if you wanted to check out more. Again, thank you everyone for tuning into our workshop. This will be recorded and sent out to you as soon as I finish this up. And we look forward to hearing from you all. Thank you again for joining us, and have a wonderful morning, day, evening, night, really depending on where you are. And I do see a quick question here. Rochelle, our hand tracking workshop will be seen on our website. Workshop, that's it. My colleague Dan just sent it. Wonderful. So I will stick around for another minute here just so you guys can see those links. But if there are any other questions that we can help answer for you, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of our team members here. We would be more than happy to help. Anyways, have a great evening, and thanks again for tuning in, everyone. Take care and stay safe.